Are we live? Great. We're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. I want to welcome everyone to this regular meeting of the Catalina Foothills School District Governing Board. It is 6:30 p.m. on Tuesday, September 10th. This is a regular meeting of the Governing Board. I am going to, on behalf of the Governing Board, welcome everyone to tonight's meeting. We do have members obviously here in person, and some folks are attending online as well. And in just a few minutes, I'll read the full rules of order for public comment. But for those folks who might be online this evening, if you do intend on making public comment online, you should have already filled out the Google form that's available under the YouTube live description. If you don't see this link to the Google form, refresh your YouTube live stream and you should see it. And if you're attending in person, you will need to complete this purple form and hand it in to Amy at her desk over there. I am going to go ahead and ask everyone to stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, these are the rules of order for public comment at Governing Board meetings. The Governing Board welcomes public comment at its meetings by providing 2 opportunities for the public to address the board. If your topic of interest is not on the agenda, you may address the board during the public comment time slot near the beginning of the meeting. Or if the topic is on the agenda, you may speak just prior to the discussion of that agenda topic. In the event there's a public hearing, the opportunity to speak will be reopened at the time the public hearing comes up. If you are joining remotely and wish to make public comment, you should have already submitted the Google form provided with the YouTube link. For those attending in person, please hand a completed purple form, request to address the Governing Board, to our Board Secretary, Amy Sams. The information on this form is required for our minutes. Speakers will be called on when it's their turn to address the board. For those attending remotely, you may choose to enable your camera. As a reminder to remote attendees who wish to speak, please unmute your microphone when called upon. Each speaker will have 2 minutes to address the board. The sound of the buzzer indicates the end of your 2 minutes. In the event of a large number of speakers, the board may need to limit the time for public comment so that they can conduct the business on the agenda. By law, the board cannot discuss, consider, or vote on topics that are not on the agenda. This assures the community that they're aware of the topics that will be discussed. If you wish to discuss a topic through written communication, board members' contact information can be found on the district's website. We appreciate the community's attendance and comments at this meeting, and thank you for coming. Okay, we're going to go right into outstanding achievements with Dr. Denise Bartlett.
Thank you, President Jackson. I'm pleased to highlight the following CFSD students and their staff achievements. For boys golf, this is an exciting one. The boys team placed second in the Brophy Rodeo National Golf Invitation at Greyhawk on Saturday. They finished 1 stroke behind the Brophy Elite event. So there were some individual accomplishments as well as the team accomplishments. The College Board, we had College Board recognition. There were 25 students from the Catalina Foothills High School that have been awarded the national recognition by the College Board, setting a new record for our high school. Students earned this recognition through their exceptional performance on the PSAT, the NMSQT, and/or the AP exams, along with maintaining a GPA of 3.5 or higher. The awards include the National African American Recognition Award, National Hispanic Recognition Award, the National First Generation Recognition Award, and the National Indigenous Recognition Award. So all 25 of those students will be listed in the border tomorrow. Then we have our cross country. We had junior Catherine McNulty was named the girls champion of the cross country Rio Rico Rattler Cross Country Invitational held on August 30th in Rio Rico. And the girls cross country team placed 3rd place overall in that tournament as well. And then finally, we're very proud to announce that Isabel Bapst, a 7th grader in Miss Kelly Smith's science class at Esperero Middle School, has been named one of the top 300 junior innovators in the 2024 Thermo Fisher Scientific Junior Innovators Challenge, a prestigious program of the Society for Science. This places Isabel among the only 300 middle school science and engineering projects in the United States, selected from a pool of 1,862 entrants. Yes, her innovative project studied the effect of shading solar panels on the growth trajectory of alfalfa, showcasing her dedication to scientific inquiry and exploration at a young age.
It was wonderful.
Yes, wonderful achievements.
Very young age. That's great. And of course, all of these students are going to be featured tomorrow in the
In
border.
the border, yes.
With
All of the names will be
information.
present.
Thank you for that report.
You're welcome.
All right, we will move on now to our public comment section. And I'm just going to call folks up in the order in which I received their purple forms. And if you would just, as you come up, just stand in front of the podium so that you're in front of the microphone, and you will have the 2 minutes to speak. And I'm going to call first Ravi Sweat. And Ravi has a student enrolled in our school.
I have 8th grader at Orange Grove. I was hoping other people go before me, but apparently I'm the first one here.
You were early.
Yeah, exactly. So I just wanted to speak about the recent events at Orange Grove. I'm pretty sure it's on everybody's mind. I think some sort of it being addressed by the board would be helpful, I think, to the general public and the parents. A couple of things that I wanted to say was that it left a lot of parents. Obviously, the message came super early in the morning. A lot of parents hadn't even gotten the message yet. And obviously, it was, it was kind of vague. And I think the communication probably could be better on that front. I understand it was in time pinch and it had to get out probably within a short period of time. So I understand principal's position as well. But as the time went on, I think there was a lot of information left to interpretation of each person, whether they should send their kids, or whether the individual who posed that threat, if he was still around or was he not. And obviously, a lot of information needs to be confidential, and that's understood by, I think all of us have minors, and that's understandable. But I think some of those things were just left. I don't know, everybody's had their own interpretation. What type of security measures were there in place? Was there one police officer? Were there a number of them? Were the people that were, posing the threat, sort of what's the situation there? Has it been handled? I think just a little bit more communication and more clarification on that front would have been helpful. So that's all I got.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up we have Rick Knight, an Orange Grove and Manzanita parent and CFSD resident.
Good evening. Thank you. First of all, thank you for what you do. Thank you for taking care of our kids. Thank you for doing the right thing for our students and our children. Thanks to the Sheriff's Department in the back. I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate what you all do every single day. No one knows and understands what you do, and I appreciate you for everything you do. So, I too am going to discuss the same topic. Question I have, number one, which I understand will not be answered, but I would like to understand if there is an emergency preparedness and threat manager for the school district. And I would like to understand who that is, and if we don't have that, that would be good knowledge to have, that we don't have a threat management professional on staff or supporting the school district. Next statement I'd like to make is we all received, or the majority of people received, a message at 6:59 a.m. that went out through Parent Square. It did not go out through an email distribution list, so I can't confirm that everyone received that same message. But at 6:59, we received a message that said that there was a potential threat that a student, possibly someone in the school, was being threatened. So my question and my statement is, there are two options with that email. Option one, the threat has been neutralized, and we needed to identify that in the email. Or option two, the threat had not been identified and was still a risk that we faced as a community, and we should have held the school. That's my statement. There's really no acceptable practice in any environment where we would say there's an active threat and we would continue to let people introduce into that threat environment. That is absolutely unacceptable. So my hope is that at some point in the future, we will receive further information on this investigation that tells us that that threat was neutralized before that 6:59 email. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate all of you.
Our next speaker is Brandon Michelle. She'll start when you start.
All right, my name is Brandon Michelle. I'm the father of Liam Michelle, a student in the district. My son was directly threatened in that post. I think everybody here probably knows that. I'm in this district because you guys are amazing, and you do an amazing job. We have bounced around from basis to Dove, and I want to minimize my time. We love being here. These teachers are amazing. The law enforcement in the area has been amazing through this whole thing. I don't disagree with what this man just said, though. We had a test. We failed. And at this particular point in time, we need a tutor. That's what you would tell my son if he passed, if he failed a test. That's what you would tell me. That's what I'm telling you. Right? At this particular point in time, I think we need to hire somebody that is not a teacher. You guys are great at helping a young mind develop. That's what you do. You went to school to learn that. None of you went to get educated on how to defend a facility against an assailant. Even the deputies at this particular point in time, they're law enforcement. They're not really, and I'm not picking on you guys because I love you all to death, but the reality here is that we need to hire somebody that actually knows how to defend our facilities, how to defend our children, how to defend you. You guys are assets as well. You shouldn't have to consider throwing your life in front of a bullet as a teacher. That's not something you guys should have to think about, and I don't want you to have to think about it. We need to have security. Something needs to be done about it. A premises protection plan. I'm not great at speaking in front of people, I'm sorry. But a premises protection plan from an expert is something I think we need to consider. And honestly, this gentleman that was just speaking a minute ago, I was notified at 8:09 a.m. that my son was listed on that. That's unacceptable. He was already dropped off. I was in another county. By the time I was notified, I had to come get him. It's unacceptable that he was even dropped off. The Snapchat post was at 3:21 p.m. on Thursday. That's insane. Those reaction times are unacceptable. It needs to change. Yeah, okay, thank you. I wish I could say more. Have a great night, guys.
Thank you for coming. Okay. Our next speaker is Allie Michelle.
Hello, good evening. My name is Allie Michelle. I'm the mother of Liam Michelle. And I stand before you today as not just as a parent, but more importantly as an advocate for the safety and well-being of our children. I want to talk about an issue that has shaken my family to the core. A few days ago, Liam was the target of an online threat by a fellow student. This is not just a threat, it's a direct attack on the safety of our children, of our community, and of our school. We all know too well how these types of threats can escalate into real tragic violence. I'm here to ask the board to take immediate and strong action. The student should be expelled. This is the appropriate consequence for such a serious threat. Threatening someone's life in any threatening someone's life in any context. Sorry, my heart is going a million miles a minute. Let alone in the school environment, is something that we cannot take lightly. The situation is not only about my son or this particular threat, it's about ensuring that our school has clear, strong policies in place that protect our children. Parents need to know what steps the district is taking to guarantee our children's safety, what safety systems are in place to address threats, and how this district is the district ensuring that these threats are handled swiftly and appropriately. I'm calling for a zero-tolerance policy on threats of violence. We need a firm stance that tells students, parents, and the community that any form of threat, whether online or in person, will not be tolerated. Children must feel safe in school, free from the fear that someone may be plotting to harm them. To effect real change, we need to ensure that punishment fits the gravity of the actions. Threats of violence should result in expulsion. Additionally, we must provide mental health support for students who are showing signs of distress. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Lindsay, is it Ream? Yeah. Orange Grove parent.
Good evening, and it'll be another future Orange Grove parent again next year, too. Good evening. Given the increasing concerns about gun violence in schools nationwide and the recent scare at one of our own schools, it's critical that we prioritize and communicate the implementation of the safety measures. It's part of what we as parents, and not just the parents in this room or online today, are really looking for in order to feel safe sending our kids to school, and many of us have chosen not to for the last 3 days specifically for that reason. And especially in the wake of what was deemed to have been a credible threat, as we've all heard this referred to. We're the lucky ones, right? We're the lucky ones that have the opportunity to evaluate the safety measures and be upfront and open with families and faculty about what's being implemented rather than allow all of us to guess, to hope, to assume, or to one of having to be calling the sheriff's department, the superintendent, sending individual emails. Maybe you get a response, maybe you don't, maybe it's consistent, maybe it's not. We've heard, specific small little recommendations from parents, from teachers, from staff, and like others have said, we aren't the experts. We don't claim to be. None of us, I think, in the room. Most of us are not. But there are resources who are, and they can help develop and they can help provide those plans in terms of safety measures and emergency plans. They do it all the time for large events, large organizations, large institutions. We really need to invest in that as a district. And the commitment really needs to be transparent with everybody, and especially the parents and the staffs. We all want our kids and the staffs to feel safe. Kids shouldn't have to worry about their safety. We want them to be kids, to learn, and they want to know that the school is looking out for them. We want to give parents the peace of mind that school's a safe place that their kids will come home from when we drop them off. And it's really the open communication that we're lacking. And it's open communication about very specific measures that are being taken or will be taken that we have not heard yet and we have not seen openly. Everything has been very one-off and very sporadic, and we don't see and haven't seen the action yet. But that's really what's going to make us all feel safe sending our kids back. Thanks.
Thank you. We'll next hear from Joanne Stafford, Orange Grove parent as well.
Good evening, and thank you for your time and attention, and thank you all for being here. I'm going to read an email that was written from a dear friend of mine and a fellow parent that was addressed to the board, but we did not receive a response nor an acknowledgement of receipt, so we just want to make sure that you got it. So I'm going to read it now. Dear Mr. Rubentolz, Mrs. Meza, the CFSD Governing Board, and the Superintendent Bartlett, I am writing to express my deep concern regarding the recent incident that occurred on Friday at Orange Grove. As a parent, I appreciate the need to ensure the safety of all students, but I feel that the response to the situation was inadequate and has left many of us parents with more questions than answers. Threats of violence, particularly those related to shootings, are not matters that can be taken lightly. They create an environment of fear and anxiety for students, staff, and parents alike. The mental and emotional impact on our children when they hear of or experience such threats is profound, and the potential for these situations to escalate is terrifying. Forgive me for reading so fast. I want to make sure I get through it. No parent should have to send their child to school worrying about whether they will come home safely, and no student should have to endure the fear of potential harm while trying to focus on their education. That being said, the school has the duty to protect the students and staff, and I would like to understand what specific steps and precautions have been put in place to ensure that everyone remains safe. The gravity of the situation cannot be overstated, and I feel that as parents, we deserve to know what measures are being taken to prevent further incidents, including any safety protocols, support systems, or disciplinary actions that are in effect and will continue to be. Quite frankly, the message that was sent earlier tonight, which was Sunday, was lacking in that detail. In addition, many of us feel that an open forum would provide an opportunity for the administration to explain the response, outline the safety measures currently in place, and address the concerns that parents and students have about the overall safety of our school. I believe that transparency and collaboration are essential in moments like these, and a town hall would help to restore the trust and confidence in the many that have been shaken by this event. While I understand that maintaining confidentiality is important, the broader concern, there's more. So please check your email. Thank you.
And our last public speaker, let me just double check and make sure that there's nobody online. There's still no one online, is Amy Morales-Bell.
Good evening. Thank you so much for taking the time today. I'm a proud parent of students who attend CFSD schools, one of them who's at Orange Grove. First, I do want to thank Mr. Ruben Tolles. He has been put in the most extremely difficult circumstances, and I know that it may not be a perfect response, but I know how difficult it can be, and I want to thank him for that, for the strong trust that he's built with me over time to make me feel as comfortable as possible in circumstances where today's climate doesn't really feel very comfortable sending your child to school. For 8 years, I was a preschool administrator where I had to develop plans for 1- and 2-year-olds to hide in bathrooms for such events. And I know intimately how challenging and impossible it is to prepare for circumstances such as these and to respond to circumstances such as these. My hope and my ask is that there are acknowledgments of the heaviness for parents when the safety of our students is involved, and more forward communication about district policies that address these sorts of topics. I know that our schools cannot do everything for our communities, and they bear a tremendous weight. I would like to see avenues for parents and community members to partner to help prevent and work together to create a stronger community, possibly a Parents in Action committee of some sort that could learn from other groups like Moms Demand Action, et cetera, who have resources online that they've already learned from circumstances that have happened before. To me, all students are all of our students, and we need to work together for safety, which includes proactive and communicative policies that work collaboratively on behalf of our whole community. Thank you.
Thank you. And Amy, I think this is everyone. Okay, I want to make sure that everyone has had a chance to comment. We do appreciate everyone coming and your comments, and certainly understand what a difficult situation this has been for all of our parents and our students. The way public comment works, we cannot comment on any of the comments that were here this evening, and there is no further discussion on this particular topic as it's not been noticed on the agenda, and I just wanted to reiterate that. It's not that we're not commenting because we don't care about this situation. It is definitely, it's the rules of the situation. So again, I appreciate everyone coming and making public comment, and we do really very much appreciate your response to this situation and how we might be able to incorporate some action. So thank you again for attending. I am going to go ahead and close public comment at this point and move on to our consent agenda items. Does anyone have anything that they need to pull or discuss on our consent agenda? That's something that we would discuss. That's something that we would discuss, and it would be duly noticed if it was. Okay?
That's a good question.
It is a good question, yeah.
You can clarify.
It will always be posted on the agenda, yes.
We just have a minute.
Yeah. Item 3 is our consent agenda.
Look, I just have I hope a easy question.
Okay.
On the personnel memorandum, I noticed that we've hired a new half-time math teacher at the high school. Is this, I hope, going to fill in some of the,
Yes, that would complete, as you know, one of our teachers passed away over the summer, and we had one of the teachers who was teaching a half-time position, except it come full-time, so there was still a half-time position available. So this is going to complete the math staffing at the high
that's what
school.
does, okay. I remember there was something like that. Thank you.
Anything else on the consent agenda for this evening? And if not,
Phil's short.
yes, it is.
Make sure I can do it all. Okay. May I make a motion?
Please.
I move that the governing board approve consent agenda items 3.1, the governing board August 27th, 2024 regular meeting minutes as presented, 3.2, the expense voucher memorandum as presented, 3.3, the field trip request memorandum as presented, 3.4, the personnel memorandum as presented, and 3.5, the acceptance with gratitude of the gifts and donations memorandum as presented.
Second?
We have a motion and a second on the consent agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to item 4, which is our unfinished business. This will be the approval of superintendent's proposed performance goals for 2024-2025. This is a second reading and again, an action item.
Yes, thank you. So attached are the recommended goals that to receive priority during the 2024-2025 school year. Since the first reading of the goals on August 27th, I made some minor revisions to the format of the goals specifically. Information about the 3 strategic plan goals was added after the introduction to the listen and learn section. So that's on page 3 of the goals. So I've added that section in. I've also added in the outcomes that were expected before each category in the goals. So specifically, on page 3 of the goals, right underneath where we're talking about the strategic plan and the goals of the strategic plan, and we're going into the first goal of monitoring, evaluating, and supporting the implementation of the collaborative inquiry teams at the schools. Our outcomes are to increase student learning and achievement and improve teacher quality. So if you remember last time, we talked about the 3 outcomes that we wanted to have for the goals, which is increase student learning and achievement, improve teacher quality, and to grow our opportunities to communicate and collaborate with the community and families of the district. So you can see where the outcomes are before each section. Under professional learning, of course, our outcome is to improve teacher quality. On page 8 of the goals, under human resources, it's to increase the learning and achievement of our students, as well as increase teacher quality and retention of employees. Under student services, we want to increase student learning and achievement. Under curriculum and assessment, we want to increase student learning and achievement. We want to improve teacher quality and retention of employees. And then under the alumni and community relations, this is where the goal for growth and opportunities for engaging and communicating with parents, alumni, and the community. So those outcomes, as well as our strategic goals, have been aligned and folded into my performance goals as well.
I think that you're well into your listen and learn sessions.
I am. We've completed 5 this week. Well,
It's only Tuesday.
four. We've had 2 each day, and we have 2 tomorrow. And then
Where
we
are
have.
those, Dr. Bartlett? Where are those?
Where are they? We had a session at MAC for all of the district office personnel. We've had one at Canyon View we've done one with the administrators, and we've done one at Ventana Vista. Tomorrow we have Orange Grove, and we have Valley View.
And
So
when you mention those schools, are you saying the parents or the staff?
those are the staff,
starting
all
with the staff.
staff.
Okay.
Then next week, we do have 2 parent forums that are coming up, and we did a random invitation. A randomly selected group of people were invited to come in person. And Julie, we've sent out 1,500, and we have 78 RSVPs so far.
So the random selection was 1,500 of our parents or family members,
Correct.
and we have 78 RSVPs. And where is that being held?
They're both being held at Valley View, right here.
Right here?
In the
Okay.
professional learning. One is at 9 o'clock in the morning, and one is in the evening.
Okay, so that 78 is probably split between
It
those
is
2
split between
groups.
2 groups.
And
We're limiting it to 50 in each group.
Gotcha.
So we're hoping to get 100
We're hoping
in
to.
person. However, there is a link for anybody who wants to provide an input into the questions that we're asking during these sessions, to provide their input through the link, through a survey.
And that will be interactive? I mean, they can participate that way, or it's just for observation?
It's not a live link to participate.
Okay.
It's a link for them to fill out a survey of the
I see.
questions that are
Right.
being addressed in the Listen and Learn. And then next week, we also have the remaining schools. So we'll go to Esperero, we'll go to Manzanita, we will go to Sunrise Drive, and
High school. Did we-
the high school. The high school is the very last session.
And so, one of the things I think that we contemplated with your goals coming this early in the school year and before Listen and Learn is completed, that it's very possible that additional goals or priorities will be identified in those Listen and Learn sessions such that additional goals may be added to this
Correct.
in this same process as being presented to the board and approved by the board.
Correct.
And also, the only other thing I wanted to add, and for my own clarification, is that although this document doesn't have specific timing, I mean, except for the Listen and Learn session, these are ongoing goals, but there are aspects of it that the board will be reported back to and will learn more about as the year goes on. So, for example, we've scheduled a board study session on the 8th Ref accountability system.
That's correct.
So, in November, for our first meeting in November, so, which is of course a public meeting. And so that would enable us to understand, that goes to student accountability, student achievement, how part of A to F accountability is our teacher performance, it's tied to student performance. So in my mind, that gives us another opportunity, an opportunity to learn more, to help us evaluate whether these goals are being achieved, and to ask the right questions and to ask for the right information back.
Correct.
I'm sure there's other examples, but that's the first one that come to mind, because the goals are very broad. I mean, there are some aspects of the goals that are broad and then some that get more granular, but in general, I think when we set the goals, we also want to, and we will go back, and your performance evaluation is tied to whether these goals are achieved, so that although some take longer to
Right.
complete, others we will be following.
And some are
along the way.
activity-based, so some of the curriculum committees that, is run by Mrs. Castro and things like that.
Right.
Some of them are more activity-based, and some of them are time-bound goals.
Right.
And some of them spill over into a future school year. Some of
Right.
these goals are spilling over from a prior school year
Correct.
because they're not necessarily goals that are meant to be achieved in a given school year, but they do affect more than one.
Well, and for an example of the goal, I think, is in our human resources, where we want to track our retention rates, and we've been doing that for several years. So this is a carryover goal that we really then compare one year to the next, or several years, which is an extended goal, not just 1 year of data. We're looking at a long-term pattern so that we can take action on that.
Other comments, questions, need for clarification?
Most of us have been doing this long enough to know that these goals are very broad and obviously require the cooperation of many other people beside yourself.
Of course.
Yes.
And so,
This is a team effort for
It is a
sure
team.
on all of the goals. You know, our motto is, we are CFSD. It's not just me. It's, you know, these goals inform the work with the administrators, who then inform the work with teachers, who then inform the work with students. So it goes throughout the system.
look forward to hearing more.
Well, and I'm happy to see the continued efforts at communication into the broader community to share what we do in this district and to invite other people to join us. I just think it's to not have all of our classrooms absolutely as full as they should be, not overfilled, but as full as they should be, when our teachers and staff do what they do for our kids is just a shame. So I'm happy to see some really concrete things here.
Yes.
Continued emphasis on that, because we'll do better for them and we'll do better for whom we have here today. So I'm really, really glad to see that.
Communication is forever evolving. So
Right.
this year we have the new Parent Square system that we're learning how to use effectively and use it as a two-way communication tool.
Right.
That's going to really impact.
Working pretty well at this so far. We're still working with.
Yeah, we're still working on it. We're still learning and becoming more proficient users of it. We just started it on July 1, so there's a learning curve.
And the parents
Do
are
we
having to
know-
learn.
Do we know how much we've penetrated into the families? What percentage of our families have enrolled?
Your Parent Square speaking about.
Parent Square, yeah.
Don't know. I don't know. Do you know, Julie?
Pretty good. Good.
Also, yeah.
So if
So we
something,
still get it.
the communication, whether they're in Parent Square or not, that's good to hear. Thank you.
And I think, you know, after the event at Orange Grove, it would be a great program to really try to get 100% enrollment in that, 100% enrollment of our staff as well. So everybody's getting those same things. So we're going to try to have that goal of getting everybody signed up for Parent Square so that everybody has that same opportunity. Even though they get the email, we'd like them to get everything that we're sending out.
Yeah. And certainly the continued emphasis on our working with teachers, new teachers and teachers who've been with us for a while. And I really think that's an opportunity for the foundation to help support us in that. They are now, but support us further would be really a great thing.
That's a message coming out of the Listen and Learns, the importance of professional learning
Yeah.
and training our teachers to be the highest quality that we can. Because we know that's how we impact student achievement, is with high quality teaching and learning. So that has been one of the takeaways from the Listen and Learns thus far.
Well, and that underlines what we learned from our retention surveys, is that the professional development and the opportunity for staff to collaborate with each other is key to their job satisfaction. So we're hearing it yet from another source. Good. Other questions or comments?
Well, I know she's going to be adding to these goals, but this is a pretty full plate already.
It really is. Whenever I read these goals, I
think
feel tired.
As we're asking, that we're all guilty of it, as we all ask, you know, there will be more after the Listen and Learn, and I think, ooh, this is a full plate too. so.
It is a full plate, and, it all just is going to depend on prioritization. Because we do have to be mindful of what's possible and, for a finite team of people to accomplish in a given point in time, but the prioritization of it is where we'll have input into that, and you'll have input into that in terms of how we're gonna get this done and when we're gonna get this done.
That and leverage,
Leverage?
Correct.
Yeah,
my word of the day.
all right. Gina, anything? Okay. If you guys have had all of your questions answered, I'd be willing to entertain a motion.
I'd be happy to.
Okay.
I move the governing board approve the superintendent's performance goals for 2024-2025 as presented. The progress toward and/or achievement of these agreed-upon goals will be the basis for governing board consideration of and action on 2024-2025 performance pay component of the superintendent's contract.
We do have a motion for the approval of this presentation of the superintendent's 2024-2025
together.
goals. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Okay, thank you. All right. We're going to go ahead and move on now to our new business items in item number 5. Our first item is 5.1, consideration of revisions to policy GCF, professional staff hiring, and policy GDF, support staff hiring. First reading, we're going to turn this over to Mindy Westover.
Good evening. This evening, I bring forward to you from the Senate Bill 1558. It added the Arizona Revised Statute 15509, and it requires individuals who apply for employment by a K-12 school district to disclose if said individuals has pled guilty, no contest, been convicted, or is awaiting trial for offenses that include dangerous crimes against children, sexual conduct with a minor, any crime requiring sex offender registration, and/or crimes in other states or similar categories. The specific language added to both policies, GCF, professional staff hiring, and policy GDF, support staff hiring, include candidates shall disclose whether they have pled guilty, pled no contest, been convicted, or are awaiting trial pursuant to ARS 15509. And so that was added to both the GCF and the GDF policy. And with that, are there any questions?
Shocking that
And it
wasn't
wasn't
there
there.
before.
That's what I was thinking, is this is
Really?
new legislation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or-
Yes. Yes.
Maybe there was something similar, but maybe not as specific, or maybe not like, or awaiting trial, or
Yes.
some,
Right.
something like that.
It was after those pieces, so now they've added that it is, prior to and awaiting. As additional other outside states is included now too. So that whole statement will be added, it will be added onto our application for employments as well.
When you say other outside states, you mean that if they had a similar issue in
Other states.
like Texas, Oklahoma,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
totally different
Yes.
states of the
Yes.
country? You
Well,
mean?
and I presume even another country, it says another, I was thinking about that, and I thought, well, this isn't,
It's specifically, the wording specifically talks about other states, but
well,
similar
didn't it
categories.
say other jurisdictions? Was something I thought,
Now, the only wording that changed was that last line.
no, but that's already in the
There could be.
someplace.
Yeah, there could be in there.
What's
Maybe I'm
already in
thinking-
the someplace? Sorry, Carol, I didn't follow
Well,
you.
I was, well, I'd have to read
She was
the whole
asking
thing.
about other countries, so an applicant from outside of the US?
Right.
Well,
Well, I mean, not that it matters, but the challenge is gonna, pled guilty, pled no contest, or convicted. Well, it's gonna be a challenge to figure out who fits into that category, especially in another state that doesn't use the same legal terminology that Arizona does, and hopefully we don't have to get there. My only question about the policy, and obviously this is going to be important to the personnel, our human resource personnel who are reviewing, they have to know what the statute says. I can't imagine that an applicant is going to be reading this policy, but, and I don't know if this language, I assume this language came from ASBA, but I wonder if it wouldn't be worthwhile, instead of saying pursuant to ARS, to actually list in this policy what those criteria are.
I think that's
to
a good
use that-
idea.
That
the
was
whole-
going to
that
be
whole
my
phrase.
suggestion as well. You know, you've got the language right here in your memo that's more descriptive, and obviously we would still have the referential language to the statute for the catch-all. But I think it would be a much more usable policy if the policy was more descriptive of what's contained in that statute.
It just doesn't really mean anything to tell somebody
Yeah.
to refer to a statute that nobody knows what it is.
I will make that adjustment for,
Unless you're sitting there with,
if-
yeah.
If my colleagues agree.
No, I agree.
Oh, I was going to bring it up if you guys didn't.
And that would obviously go for both.
For both of them?
Yep.
So this is for applicants for
Yes.
employment.
Yes.
And I think we already have language for current employees if their legal status changes in a way like this.
Correct.
That
In their
language is
contracts.
already
Yeah.
there.
For their notice of appointments.
and their
Okay.
fingerprint clearance cards. will
And their
get-
fingerprint clearance cards, at least.
And we get notified.
Wait, what do you mean, fingerprint clearance cards will what?
If they are charged with something, we will get noticed.
Oh, you get
Yeah.
notified if they have a fingerprint
But they're
on
also
file.
required to notify
see.
us if
Yes.
something in this
Providing
category were to happen.
Their fingerprint and name and everything are all matched up like they're supposed to be.
Right.
That's,
Right,
no,
Yes.
yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, so the same change is in policy GDF, support staff hiring, as is in professional staff hiring. No other changes to the policies. Has anyone been wordsmithing these two policies? As we tend to do? And if not, we will see this again in a couple of weeks at our next board meeting as old business. And I'm going to go ahead then and move on to item 5.2, which is consideration of revisions to policy, regulation, and exhibits, JHD, JHD-R, JHD-EA, and JHD-EB, exclusions and exemptions from school attendance. Again, first reading. Back to Mindy Westover.
And this language has been updated to align with the Arizona Revised Statute 15346. The only change made was the word certified is replaced with licensed in reference to a health professional. There are multiple places where the word certified was replaced with license in both the policy, the regulation, and the exhibits. Additionally, it was brought to my attention that we, at the beginning of the policy, it states that it must be from a registered nurse, and then throughout the policy, it does not. So I would look to be potentially bringing that back to the second revision and adding registered nurse, where you see a nurse throughout the document.
I see, so the introductory paragraph says registered nurse practitioner, and
Yes.
elsewhere it does not.
It just says, yes. So additionally to changing the certified to licensed, we would additionally look through the policy and add registered.
I guess that means that there's a legal definition different, there's a difference in the definition of certified and licensed,
Yes.
obviously.
And-
Okay. Fairly straightforward, and that change runs through the regulation, the exhibits,
Yes.
et cetera.
Yes.
Seems that the change is meant to be broader, right? I mean, do we know what motivated this change in the statute? That, I mean, to give school districts and families more opportunities to describe a situation or to have a student in a situation where an exemption would apply, right? Like, I mean,
And most of it, what it's referring to is the documentation that we get and the medical
Right.
records that we get
Uh-huh.
from a you know, a licensed medical professional.
I see. Or behavioral health, or.
All of those,
Yeah,
yeah, all
yeah.
of those categories, that they should be licensed.
Right,
Not just somebody that says they are.
Right.
right.
When I just Googled the difference between license and certification, that a license is legally required by the government while a certification is not.
From an organization,
Yes,
maybe, yeah.
right.
So I think it just
That makes sense.
tightened it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha, thank you.
Maybe it wasn't meant to be broader, but just meant to be better regulated,
Yes.
more objective rather than subjective.
I think I'm remembering this from, you know, somewhere around 100 years ago, but that where this was broadened to not just be from your doctor, and added, you
Your
know,
MD.
all the chiropractors and the naturopathic, and we added a lot of these other categories. But I agree, it needs to be somebody who's licensed. That, I think, you know, in making it
Correct.
broader, we all of a sudden, just anybody that hangs out their shingle
Right.
might be all right, and that's not fair to our kids to not have gone to somebody who's
Gotcha.
licensed.
Okay. Again, this is a first reading and will come back before us at our next meeting. We'll move on to item 5.3, approval of resolution in support of Legendary Teacher Day, which is September 26, 2024. This is an action item. We'll turn it back to you, Dr. Bartlett.
Yes, and this is the 11th year.
Is it?
Yeah, I
It
know.
doesn't seem like it's
hard
been
to
that
believe,
long.
but it is the 11th year for the Legendary Teacher, which is, as you said, September 26, 2024. The CFSD has supported the program the past 10 years, and attached is a resolution for governing board consideration. Just for some background, the Legendary Teacher Day program is designed to recognize that one teacher in our lives who made a significant difference. So we've begun to promote the program on social media and in school blogs and newsletters. Nominations can be submitted online by completing a tribute, and we have a website. The honorees can include current and retired teachers, which is nice. The three tenets of a legendary teacher are building relationships, engaging deeply with students, and creating high expectations. Three of our core values as well. The deadline for tributes to be considered for the Legendary Teacher Day, it will be September 30th.
The Legendary Teacher
Yeah.
Day is September 26th. Do they actually choose the Legendary Teacher after Legendary Teacher Day?
Yeah, I need to check on that. We can Google it after.
Yeah.
September 30th might not be the correct day. We'll find that out. But each district legendary teacher will be invited to the 2024 Legendary Teacher Day recognition, which will take place virtually on October 17th, 2024 at 4 p.m. Each district legendary teacher will receive a $500 honorarium along with a certificate and a Teachers Change Brains book. And sponsorship and support are provided by the Teachers Change Brains, a nonprofit funded through the Northern Arizona University, Ernest W. McFarland Grant Funds, NAU College of Education, Dina Ramona Mellett, Tucson Values Teachers, Chief Executive Officer Dr. Teresa Hill, School Webmasters, Chief Executive Officer Bonnie Leedy, and the Pima County School Superintendent Dustin Williams. So you can see our resolution that is attached.
Bartlett, do you know, I'm just curious because this is our 11th year, do you know how much participation we get? Do our families respond?
I don't know that. I do know the recipient from last year's Legendary Teacher was Miguel Martinez at Esparro Canyon Middle School. Julie, do you know our participants? So we don't really know the participation. But
And the teachers who are nominated are aware that they were nominated?
yes, they get a surprise, and we kind of go out and present
Nice. I mean, even if they don't get the award, people who are.
Do we let our teachers know that
No,
they've
that
at
they-
least, they've even been
I
nominated?
don't know. I don't,
Oh, yeah.
right.
Oh, see. I see.
Gotcha.
Would be nice if they did know that.
Is there a board member who'd like to read the resolution?
I read enough.
Do you want to, or would you like me to?
You want me to read it?
Or I can, it's up to you.
Go ahead.
Governing Board Resolution in support of Legendary Teacher Day, Thursday, September 26, 2024. Whereas the Governing Board of Catalina Foothills School District believes we have all had special teachers who made a significant difference in our lives. And whereas the Catalina Foothills School District Governing Board recognizes that those teachers demonstrated unique skills, allowing them, allowing them to transform their deep content knowledge into life-changing student learning. And whereas the Catalina Foothills School District Governing Board highly values the caring family culture created by those teachers. And whereas the Catalina Foothills School District Governing Board understands that we often do not fully understand and recognize the profound influence teachers have on our future until we have lived our future. And whereas the Catalina Foothills School District Governing Board realizes the importance of taking time to fully recognize the legendary teachers in our lives. Therefore, be it resolved that the Catalina Foothills School District Governing Board does hereby affirm its support for September 26, 2024 as Legendary Teacher Day. We encourage our entire community to take time on this day to contact the legendary teacher in your life and express your gratitude for the difference they made in your life.
Okay. So that is the resolution.
And with
I
that,
did just look up, deadlines for tributes are on September 26th. You can,
All the way up to the day.
all the way
Okay,
up to the day.
Gotcha. Great.
with that, I move that the governing board support the Legendary Teacher Day program by approving the attached, the resolution Gina just read as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the support of Legendary Teacher Day 2024. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you.
So, will we get the word out? Our
Start
district?
advertising it, yep.
Yes.
Or have we already gotten the word out before tonight, I hope?
Right, yeah, Julie has already,
There's social media posts that I've seen and things like that, so.
Yeah, I mean, the resolution wasn't required in order for people
Right.
to actually make a
Start.
nomination, so. But I'm glad we are once again resolving. Okay. Our next item will be discussion and reports. The Arizona School Boards Association Law Conference report. The conference was September 4th through the 6th, and this is going to be presented by Amy Kraus, our vice president.
I'm happy to present, but I wasn't the only.
No, you were not the only
So President
attendee.
Jackson and I attended along actually with Dr. Bartlett and Ms. Westover on the pre-conference day.
and Cheryl Castro.
Oh,
And Cheryl, yeah, Cheryl was there as
sorry.
well.
And Cheryl was there as well. And we, and the pre-conference was on AI. And I thought it was pretty good.
Really well done.
I thought it was really well done. You were there, I mean.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was, I mean, I like know nothing about it. And so, I thought it was really informative. I was very pleased to see ASBA put on a conference that had a lot of substance and that I thought was valuable. And I'll tell you that for me, and I'd like to hear what you thought as well, the two takeaways were, I loved, there were two panels where there were students, high school students, which was great.
That was great.
To hear from students. But one thing that I didn't realize is that AI can be very helpful to our teachers, and it can be used in an administrative way to help streamline and cull different types of data and information and scoring and rubrics and things that can really make a difference in the terms of the time that it takes to do some tasks that would otherwise be very time consuming and maybe a little more on the mundane side, but then also The message that I heard loud and clear was that there always has to be a human in the mix. You don't ever turn anything over to AI. And so even though, for example, a teacher might use AI to assist with a rubric score, that wouldn't replace the teacher's oversight and, still making the final decision about where kids land. And I love the idea of, tools that can make things easier. And they, oftentimes they compared it to a calculator or a graphing calculator, where we used to say, oh my gosh, kids aren't going to learn how to do math if they have a calculator. Well, yeah, they're still going to learn how to do math. They just have the calculator as another tool. So it was really described as a tool that can be used. And then the other piece of it from the student side was, it's clear that students are already using AI. So, so it needs to be part of our whole digital citizenship package, responsible use, understanding the biases that are built into various platforms, understanding what the human role is in using AI, and that it is not simply a tool for cheating. Right. So those were my takeaways, and I thought that pre-conference day was very well done. I learned a lot.
Yeah. They spent a lot of time talking about the range of responses school districts across the country with AI. Some of them are banning it outright. And I think one of the other messages that I got from this was that we shouldn't be afraid of AI. Mm-hmm. We need to understand it. Mm-hmm. We need to learn how it works. We need to teach our students how it works. What are the positives or assets that come with AI? What are some of the negatives, like the risks and inherent biases that can come with the data mining that the tools use to populate AI? But that it is here. Kids are going to use it, and we need to teach them how to use it responsibly. And it's not much different than when other tools like Google Classrooms and Zooms and those kinds of things came in and kind of revolutionized the way we do things, that this is just yet the next step of a tool, and that it is here. And we have to embrace it, and we have to figure out how to embrace it in our schools. Mm-hmm. I think it was also great, and I'm not even going to pretend that I've plowed through all the materials, but they provided us with a lot of information that's been compiled specifically by the Northern Arizona University. Yeah. Took a 200-page national report on using AI in K through 12, and what's the word I want? Drilled it down a little bit, specifically for Arizona and for Arizona schools, and a lot of work was put into that. And it's a document that I look forward to actually studying, as I'm sure the rest of our conference attendees will be doing as well.
I'm going to echo the sentiment about the students. Mm-hmm. Having the students involved in this law conference, I thought was probably one of the most powerful. That's unusual for ASBA to do that, because they spoke candidly, they spoke articulately, and they really told us what they need. Mm-hmm. And so it was really powerful for us as administrators to hear from students what they want from us. They do want structures. They do want to be taught how, because they're just playing with it. They're using it. They don't know all of the inherent risks, and they're asking for that. And I think that's a really powerful message that was at the law conference.
So I just want to say one more thing about one of the risks and one of the challenges, I think, in developing, in figuring out how we're going to work with students in using AI in the classroom is that, first of all, the different models, there's so many.
There's so many of them.
So many different things, and there are also new ones being introduced all the time. And one of the presenters showed us, like, the fine print, that basically says, whatever you input into our system is now ours, and we can use it. So there's issues with, privacy, that
data.
So it makes it, I'm just going to say challenging.
So we have to evaluate each of the programs that we're considering,
right,
and decide what we're okay with. And I think we came away with that as well. What do we want? What is our rubric for accepting? Obviously, we're not okay with student data just being given away. we're not okay with that. So we really need to assess that.
There are definitely safe, respectful ways for educational systems to embrace that. And as someone who works in that industry, I would say that I think we're all cognizant of this fact, but the most recent reports have 60% of all jobs will be directly affected by AI, and 100% of all jobs will use AI in some form, right? And that's everything from a chat bot all the way through to, I have analysts right now who are using AI to run reports on that literally take 24 hours because they're such big reports, right? And that's something we couldn't even dream of doing a year ago. Right. And now we are doing this. And what that means from a career readiness perspective is a paradigm shift, right? So I do think that we have that responsibility to understand very quickly how we can start to enable our students to have that career readiness. From an employer perspective, employers aren't going to tolerate for too long having an emerging workforce that does not have these skills, and nor are colleges, quite frankly. So, again, personal experience, I have a college student who is starting his master's degree, and the first question in the statistical analyst class was, I assume you all know Python already, and you all have an LLM playground for developing Python, right? And so that's the starting point, right? And that's what we owe our children, our students, is to ensure that they are going to the U of A, to Harvard, wherever, with those skills that colleges are expecting, and then, into Pima as well, I should say, actually, so I didn't mean to imply anything there, apologies, that they have that level of career readiness, whether it's to university, community college, or straight into the workforce.
That was the very
We
consistent
heard that
message
same
that we
60%.
were.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think maybe a consideration for a future study session or some such thing. But,
absolutely.
what we can do to wrap our arms around this, again, fairly quickly, because it's an industry that's moving very, very fast. It will continue to evolve very quickly. So we can't wait for it to finish evolving, because that's not going to happen.
Right. No, what we heard, what we heard from our administrative team meeting in the summer when we had experts from Arizona State University come down was the AI that you're using today is the worst version you will see.
Exactly.
Right.
It's the worst version you're going to see. It's only going to get better
Exactly.
and improve and evolve. So what we're using today is not the best version. It's the worst one we have.
It's the best version of today.
Yeah, of today.
That doesn't mean that it will be tomorrow.
Correct. It's evolving so fast.
On this, I also attended the first day of the regular law conference. I did not attend the second day, but the first day of the regular law conference. And again, I have to say, the morning is keynote speakers at, everyone in one big room. And I thought they were really good speakers. There was a gentleman who was demonstrating, AI, and his whole business is about digital, what did he call it? Your digital footprint? Is that what he said? I thought it was more like an identity, like a digital identity. Anyway, so it was, the second part wasn't all about AI, but just that one was. And so I thought the morning was really good. I thought the speakers were appropriate to the topic. It, very broad, could appeal to board members who were dealing with issues in rural districts versus, small, medium, and large districts, because we all have such, different needs. So I thought that was good. And then the breakout sessions in the afternoon, I also thought, I'll just tell you what I did, because I thought it was pretty good. Let me see, sorry. I went to, legal requirements for books in public schools, which was a very interesting presentation by a lawyer. That's probably why it appealed to me. And it was,
Now we know.
although lawyers aren't usually
Presentations
appealing to
here.
me, but it was about kind of the difference between books that are in curriculum, the different requirements, curriculum versus library, and where the First Amendment falls on that. So I thought that was interesting to me. And then I also went to a meeting about running school board meeting. And I have to tell you, there was a discussion about abstaining from voting. And it was actually a really good reminder that an abstention is a no vote. So, so if you have 4 board members and 2 abstain, does the motion carry?
No.
It doesn't. So it's not like a neutral, it's a no vote. But I did say, my board colleague and I have gone around and around about whether it's appropriate for me to abstain from voting on minutes of a meeting that I hadn't attended the meeting. And the unanimous response
okay.
was, it is not necessary to abstain, but it is okay. Maybe that's just the lawyerly response. So I thought that.
I think that's true. Yeah,
Anyway, I thought it was a good
the way,
conference.
and the way Carol's always explained it to me, and I think it makes a lot of sense, because your colleagues were at that governing board meeting, and to some degree, you trust your colleagues, and you can vote for minutes that they say are accurate.
well, and you can also listen to the board meeting, it's recorded.
Certainly.
And you
Right.
can listen to it.
Right.
Yep.
And go with the accuracy there, too.
That would be a
Absolutely.
different situation.
Yeah.
Right, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Anyway, I have some optimism that ASBA is moving in a positive direction and will provide some good substantive training going forward. Yeah,
Yes.
yes.
What
Much
about Friday
different.
sessions?
For Friday sessions, we were kind of involved.
All right, yeah, that makes sense.
There was more AI in the keynotes. Cheryl, well, generative technologies, just generative technology
Generative, yeah.
was the keynote speaker.
Yep.
It was very good, very knowledgeable. He's been speaking on this for a long time, but we were kind of distracted.
Yes, you should have been.
Yeah, but you know what? We were in a session together, 4 of us, were we all
I think the 4 of us were
there? About AI for school boards, and we filled out a graphic organizer, very school-like, and that was nice because it gave us an opportunity to talk about what we could take back to our place. So, we talked about purpose, aspects of purpose, guidance for the use of AI to achieve educational vision and goals. What is the role of the school board in helping compliance, reaffirming adherence to existing policy that has to do with digital citizenship? What is the role of the school board in helping with knowledge, and that means promoting AI literacy, or like Gina said so well, career readiness and school readiness. What is the role of the school board in helping balance, which is balancing the benefits of AI and then also mitigating some of the risks that we talked about? And then agency, maintaining human decision-making when using AI, and then evaluation, regularly assessing the impacts of AI in our curriculum, assignments, assessment, and that sort of thing. So it was very nice to have an opportunity not just to be talking about in theory, but also in practice, how we can put this stuff to use. I thought it was a good conference.
It was
Good.
return
That's
to-
good, because
Such a change from this readout 12 months ago.
Yes.
Such a change from this readout 12 months ago.
Correct.
Right, that's right.
yeah, I know it seemed like we've
The return to.
been on a little bit of a slide.
Yeah,
and-
that's great.
Well, they've gotten a lot of their people back too, which I'm sure
Oh, they're getting some people back?
people have come back.
Okay.
People have come back.
And the new executive director isn't up and running yet, so I
Right.
don't, hopefully that'll just be another level of
Right.
positive, forward momentum. But for the people that I saw in terms of like the quality of the presentations, that it was very solid, very solid.
Good.
Excuse me.
Because, that's good support for school boards.
Absolutely.
Very much so.
You've got everybody out there inventing the wheel for themselves. It's
No, and
hard.
And making sense of what the legislature is
is giving us.
giving us. Making sense of that with attorney assistance is really important.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
delegate assembly report?
Yes, that's Amy Kraus as well. She
Well, that was
our
8:30 to
delegate
12:30 on Saturday.
You were in person or online?
I was online. It was the
Okay.
first time that
They
they
allowed
offered
that?
the delegate assembly online. And once everybody was able to, it didn't take that long, actually, to get everybody, there were some people, sorry, I'll try to complete a sentence. There were 71 delegates that attended in person and 29 of us online.
So there were only 100 out
Yeah,
of,
only 100.
Wow.
But remember, either last year or the year before, we finally got a vote to change the quorum requirement because
oh, did that finally pass?
finally passed.
Okay.
So.
So it's now a quorum of the people present.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay.
Quorum of the people present. And I'm not sure how many districts there are. There are 200 and
I believe.
Now, that's not a great
62.
turnout.
Something.
That is not a great turnout, but, so that, once everybody was able to actually log on and get going, and they do their advocacy update, and then they do their practice voting, and then they do the credentials committee, we actually started to discuss the agenda items at 9:40.
Oh, jeez.
And, you know, we've all seen the report, and then, our board secretary, thank you
You
so
got it.
much, prepared, no, I forwarded this. This is, we'll get a clean copy of this, but what we all have is what was passed. And, you know, again, you know, basically, you know, the role of the delegate assembly is to help the legislative arm of ASBA in lobbying the legislature. And so, because our school districts are so diverse, they really try to stick to some general premises, which is, you know, local control, maintaining local control, full funding, full funding in, and you can and then fill in the blank, you know, there's many different places.
Right.
You know, no unfunded mandates. Those are the types of things that, that they try to do.
Get rid of the aggregate spending.
And to get rid of the aggregate spending limit, that's always in the budget, in the agenda. And so really, the vast majority of changes that were made, that were recommended and passed, were rewriting. They were not substantive. They were for clarifications, and really, you know, this is an internal document that directs Chris Cotterman, who seems to be very capable.
He's been there for a
He's
while.
been there for a while, and he's, and so the idea is to give him direction. So the vast majority of items passed with overwhelming support, 98%, 95%, or no objection, no objection, no objection. There were just a couple of items where there was fairly robust debate. One was about whether to advocate to permit school districts, to give school district the authority to provide affordable housing to faculty and staff. This was very important to rural school districts.
This came up last year when I did it as well.
It did.
Yeah.
And then how taxpayer funds, you know, kind of, is there a conflict with trying to do this and to use taxpayer funds? There was a delegate from Bullhead City who talked about their use of ESSER funds to start housing projects, and then using the rent revenue to build additional after the ESSER funds ran out. And the objections were mostly about tax dollars. Somebody from Tempe said Tempe is fully in support of this and has helped Tempe School District. So, you know, so there was a debate about that. And it was item 1.16, and I'll tell you, because I don't understand this.
So which number does that relate to, Amy?
Oh, so it's on page,
It's on the third page in, give all districts the authority to provide affordable housing
Right.
options to
So-
faculty and staff.
so that's right. So there was a vote that existed in the agenda that you were part of passing. This vote was to delete that as a
Interesting.
priority, and it failed by 89%. So
So
it's
the
still there.
committee was recommending that
That it
this be
stay.
deleted.
No, No, the committee recommendations are in red. This, somebody just, I'm sorry, on page, it's 1.16.
So somebody did a
Somebody did a floor
amendment
amendment to delete.
to get rid of it. Okay,
To
gotcha.
delete item 16. So that was a debate. There were a couple of items that were defeated for lack of seconds. One was someone proposed an additional item to support any legislation which encourages competition between systems of schooling and districts.
I don't even understand that.
I think it means support vouchers?
Maybe.
Supporting legislation which encourages competition.
Well, yeah.
That didn't get a second. There was all.
That was not very well supported at all.
No, but in this circumstance, just to add a little, actually, that's not true. There was 1 second which got it to, in this circumstance, I don't know Robert's Rules of Orders well enough, but what we were told was that needed 9 seconds.
Oh.
Well, generally, I think to bring an amendment to the floor, they have to have at least 10 signatures.
So that's why.
So that's how it
Okay,
failed, because
that's
they
why.
couldn't get the signatures.
They couldn't get the
To
signatures.
get it to the
That's
floor
what
to even be
the
discussed.
nine seconds
Yes.
would be, okay.
Got it.
So there was also a discussion in section 4, number 2, which does address ESAs specifically. There was a motion to repeal this section on grounds that it's just too political and that it wasn't something that the school board
Should be involved
body
in?
should be involved in opposing, that it's a
Interesting
political
outlook.
and not a, right? And so there was obviously debate about, well, no, it actually really hurts public schools. And that amendment failed by 90%. No, 78%, sorry. Then there was a proposal to repeal Part 6, Number 2, which is about, which is an existing policy that promotes social and emotional wellness as a critical component of improving school climate, safety, and learning. There was a motion to strike that paragraph that failed by 90%. And the last thing I'll mention is 6.6, which was a motion that the committee brought forward to help develop a more comprehensive harassment and bullying definition and a system to better enhance the clarity of understanding of 15.341A36, which, and the reason that they brought that forward was because there was a concern that school districts are having trouble working with the statutory definition of bullying and harassment. The concern was that that's too vague, and wanting to ask the legislature to clarify what that statute, what the definition of bullying and harassment actually should be. And the response to that was, there may be some pitfalls, but we trust our administrators. We want to give our schools the ability to work with a definition to fit different facts. And sometimes when we ask the legislature to be more specific, then we find ourselves not being able to work with a statute because it doesn't satisfy all of this. The motion to add this paragraph passed in the end of all this discussion by 78%. So I thought that I, as our delegate, I felt comfortable that I was able to represent our interests and to represent the broad goals of the ASBA advocacy team.
Thank you for doing this duty.
Yeah, and I'll tell you,
Did it move along pretty well? Once they finally
it
got
did.
started,
No,
did
no.
it move?
It did, and actually, I thought it worked really well. The technology worked really well. I could hear well. The participation was easy. With the voting was easy. I thought it worked.
And if you wanted to speak, that was easy as well. You
Yeah.
could access that pretty easily.
I didn't speak, but people did speak who were
And it wasn't an
appearing
issue.
online, and it was fine. Plus, the chat was working really well. So, like when I had trouble, I just messaged Chris Cotterman directly and said, "I'm not can't log on," and then he fixed my problem. And
Good.
I thought it was good.
Well, thank you for doing that extra duty.
Yeah.
Who actually chaired this?
So
Is there a,
it was chaired by the president of the board, who's Desiree Fowler.
okay.
Yeah.
And there's a large committee, though, that meets throughout the year to come up with this recommendation.
Yeah.
There's a representative, I think,
Yeah.
from every
From every county.
I don't know exactly how the committee's populated anymore. I can't remember.
It was pretty clear that she had somewhat of a script in terms of, procedurally, where you go, I call for this, call the question. Are we voting on calling the question? Or, there's always
Yes.
those.
They're very meticulous about Robert's rules in this
but-
event.
And there's obviously people who are, whether it's Chris Cotterman or somebody else who's sitting up on the panel that says, well, wait, we have to do it this way or do it that, so there's some, who knows Robert's rules of orders well enough to do it perfectly, but
Yeah.
even
try
with all
very
that, I thought it went well.
I appreciate about, and thank you for attending.
Yeah,
What I
my
appreciate about seeing this is the items in here align really well to our strategic plan and to what we deem
Yes.
is important as a board
Yes.
as well. And so seeing this evidence that ASBA really is, getting the right people in the right places again, I'm feeling more confident that we're going to have that additional support from that body really that should be there to support us. And that alignment between, for example, adequate funding,
In all
the-
aspects.
preservation, respect, and strengthening of local control,
Yes.
improving outcomes for all students, public accountability and transparency for dollars spent. That's very important to us. We've worked really hard on that. School safety and security, timely and obviously important for all of us. So I'm very optimistic now, much more optimistic than I was a few weeks ago, before this came out.
Well,
So-
all the black
Yeah,
was there.
was there,
and
but
that's
to
what
see
Chris
that
was
it
working on.
stands, I
Right.
should say, right? To know that you've put it forth, as you've explained, through very robust discussion over the course of 4 hours, and
Absolutely.
that is very meaningful. And I think that's a really important, powerful message for all of us here.
I agree. Can I just clarify something?
Sure.
Well, two things. One is, just the item that I just talked about, the harassment and bullying policy, that was slated to be added. I voted against that for the reasons that I said. I thought it was actually better to, so I voted no.
Yep,
It
gotcha.
passed 78%. So just to clarify, that was my position representing us was, don't go back to the legislature. But, and who knows if he'll have time. And in the beginning of the update, Chris gave a legislative update, and what he said was, he was reporting based on this agenda, and he can't get to all of it. It depends on
Right.
what the legislature is
Depends
talking
on-
about
yeah.
and what they, but, they fought hard against partisan school board elections that passed the legislature, but Governor Hobbs, ultimately defeated it. They were successful in the glucagon policy that that statute that we just passed, that they were successful in making that optional because there are some school districts that don't have the capacity. They were afraid of the unfunded mandate
Right.
part of that. So those are things that we don't think about so much. Doesn't affect us, but it does affect other school districts. And successful in getting some of the DAA increased. And then what he said that they weren't able to do, but they will continue working on this legislative session, is free and reduced lunch, had been slated for a one-time increase rather than ongoing, and they would really like to see, and I happen to agree just personally, that to return that to an ongoing status. So who knows what it'll actually get to on this agenda, but I agree.
Yep. Thank you, Amy.
Yeah.
And thanks for the report. That was great. All right, item 6.3, Arizona legislative or governmental activity. Obviously, our lobbyists at ASBA are gearing up.
Yes.
Gearing up for the session. Anybody on that? Okay. All right, any future agenda considerations?
Who has agenda planning tomorrow?
Carol and I will be handling agenda planning tomorrow, so if you have anything you'd like us to discuss, let us know.
I will do that.
I'm sure it's already on your lines, but obviously, we'll welcome a
What we
discussion
discussed
on
this evening.
Friday's events. That's
Absolutely.
ongoing, of course.
Okay. And if there is nothing further, I would entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I so move.
Second? Wait.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Good meeting this evening. Thank you, all of you, for hanging out with us till the end and for your commentary. We appreciate you.